Huge thank you to our live in studio audience, and welcome into another episode of the Young Dad Podcast. I'm Jay, and joining me today in the studio is Jeff. Jeff, how the heck are you, man?
Good, good. Thank you much.
Good to hear. So, Jeff, just a little bit about you for the listeners. In our intro, I put your definition of what it means to you to be a dad, and I really liked it because it is something that can actually be really complex to try to put into words as a dad, but it's also a lot of fun at the same time. But
Ever
you said it
evolving
means
for
being a
sure.
yeah, 100%. It never stops changing, especially as your kids get older. You get older, you learn new things, you talk to new people, listen to something new, all those things, super fun, but it always is changing. You said it means to be a great example of what a good human is. And that part, absolutely, like 1000%, because that is kind of what we're all about, is trying to make sure our tiny humans grow into become good humans, good members of society, good people, and people that we would want to be around right now. So
Definitely.
I think that's just hits it right on the head. But a little bit more about you. You run the Instagram page Daringly Dad, which I love. I
Heavily
guess
assisted by my
kind of a
wife. She helped me record all my thoughts throughout the day, organize it, you know what I mean? Like we're a super solid team for life, so whatever credits I get, she gets, and vice versa. Like we're definitely always together. So if you see me, she's somewhere around, same with my daughter. So I,
I love
I just
that.
want to say, like, for sure she helps me out when I'm stuck and I can't think of what to say. She already knows what I'm gonna say, so she's in the back end for sure.
I love that. And then you guys have been married for, or been together and then married for how long for you guys?
We've been together since 2005, so that puts 18 years. And then
Okay.
we've been married since 2013, so 10 years.
Okay. Very cool.
Got
Awesome. Well,
together our
congratulations on that.
junior of high school.
Oh, high school sweethearts.
Yep.
No wonder she knows how you think. She literally
She's
grew up with your
known me
thought
for longer
process.
than she hasn't.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Yep.
that's true. Because I guess if you guys were juniors, you guys would
Yep.
be
17.
16, 17. Yeah. Wow. That's wild.
It is, right?
Like, that's so long. And then you became, okay, before we get into the dad stuff, you lived in Maui. I lived in Oahu for a
Oh,
long time.
nice. Solid.
Um, I'm gonna disagree with you that even fresh pineapple does not go on pizza. Pizza,
That's that's the beauty. We can have agreements and disagreements and we still keep going.
because
That
yes, fresh
that
pineapple
that fresh
in
pineapple man
Hawaii is
does it better.
amazing. It doesn't. Except right now, we're not gonna talk too much about Maui because we're not gonna get into all that.
For
Um,
sure.
I get into all that with my brother all the time about all the conspiracies, and we talk about it at work and the new details and stuff like that. Like at work, everyone knows that I'm like the conspiracy person, guys. So whenever they hear a new conspiracy theory or something, they're like, "Did you hear about this thing being linked to this thing to this thing?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I knew about that last week, so we're good." What else is new? They're like, "Oh, okay." And then I'm like breaking it down and adding more into it for them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so connect this dot to this dot. Think about it this way. Because then if you think about it this way, then it makes sense. And you do it this way and think about it this way. They're like, like that sound when you just like blink, like the doink, doink.
Mhm.
That's my
Starry-eyed.
coworkers. Exactly. And then you became a dad in July of 2017. Fun fact, that's also when I became a dad
Hey!
for the first time, was in July 2017.
Alright,
Right?
we're both
Yeah.
sitting there, balls of energy and excitement and emotion to the same time. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, mine was the first week of July, right around the 4th. So that was a kind of a crazy week.
Yeah.
Um, so it's super fun. But um, yeah, it's an experience, man. 2017. Like if you think about the world now versus then, like lots changed in 6 years. And it's
It's
only been
absolutely
6 years. Like now I have a first grader when 6 years ago I didn't have any kids. And it's mind blowing to think like not only how much I've grown as an individual and how much I've experienced, like a divorce and now getting re-engaged, raising these 2 for a couple years on my own and stuff, and, um, as a single parent, it's kinda wild. So kinda take me through, like, what was going through your head when you found out that you were gonna be a dad, um, and what those moments meant to you, like, leading up and then since then as well?
Sure. It was for sure planned. Like, we've been together forever, so we're like, hey, you know what? Let's let's do this. Let's have a baby. And so like I wasn't it wasn't like a taken aback, shocked or anything. Like it was fine. I was like, yeah, hell yeah, like super stoked. Couldn't believe it. Had to, pee on another stick, like make sure, like, is this real before you it doesn't feel real. Like this can't be real. My life's not about to change. Like you can't absorb that information truly in a moment. It's more of like over a period of time, it just kind of slowly sets in on you. But I was super stoked. Like I felt like immediately bonded to my wife like 10 times more, which I didn't know was possible. Like couldn't go anywhere without being around her. When I was next to her, my hands on her belly, like just magnetism. It was crazy, like protective more than I've ever been. It was a wild feeling,
Yeah, and I think that's such a cool thing that you just mentioned there, like, when you do find out that your significant other is pregnant, like, you just want to be around them. You wanna be around that belly, you wanna have your hands on the belly, you just see your significant other at the time, at least for in my experience, like, at the time, just like, this just amazing person that's just so beautiful and just you love her so much more and so much deeper and stuff, and I think that's really something interesting, at least from my perspective, being divorced. It's like, yes, I'm engaged now. I absolutely head over heels in love with my fiance. Of course, she is the one, like, for me, um, now and for the rest of my life. But I still really respect and value my kid's mother.
for sure.
Like she's always going to be the mother of my children. Yes, she's not anything more than that. We're not friends, we're not, like, talking or we're not, like, anything more than just, like, co-parents at this point. She's the mother of my children, and I'm the dad. That's pretty much it? We have 50-50 custody, and that's kinda is what it is, but, it's like, I still respect her as, like I mean, she's the mother of my children, I can't it
Can't
makes
take
it
that
really
away no
hard
matter
f
what.
No, and it's like I'm always gonna have that with her, and then when my fiance and I eventually decide to have a child or multiple children, then, I'm gonna hold her in that same kind of in a different light, but also, like, higher as well. Like, I'm so excited to experience that with her and go through that with her and to, have that part of life together with her and stuff, and it's really exciting, but, you know, you you see it all the time, especially on social media, just, like, dads dragging their baby mamas, like, through the mud. Like, of course, yes, like, there's aspects of it. I don't know the whole story sometimes, but at the same time, like, it's not necessary. Like,
It's
that's
toxic
the
for
mother
your
of your
children.
children, like
Yep,
exactly, 100%. It's so toxic for your children because, like, not only are you projecting just your insecurities onto like, it's out there, like, your kids are hearing these things, even if you're talking to a friend or something, and you're venting and you're trying to get off your chest, like, that's one thing, like, make sure that little ears aren't present to hear those things because you don't want them to hear it. Like, go
for sure.
outside, go out back, text about it so that they can't hear it and whatnot. If you need to get off your chest, yes, get it off your chest, but don't make it so loud that they hear it and then they have an altered picture of their mom or their dad, for instances, because women do the exact same thing, if not worse, for their kids. Like, I see it in my line of work. Like, I work with
For
youth
sure.
and families with moms and dads who are separated, divorced, not together, and it's in different situations and whatnot. It's like just keep them like yes, you might not like them. Yes, things might have been bad. Yes, there might have been a DV or yes, there might have been abuse and there's all these different circumstances, but there's still a reason that the court thinks that they should still see their other parent. You have to still kind of not talk them up, but be okay if they're talked about. Like, okay, cool. Like, you
100%.
want to see your mom, like, you want to talk about your mom, and you want to share these things like, okay, cool. Like I'll listen and
Yeah,
yeah.
coming from a divorced family myself, as I was roughly, I think I was a little bit younger than my daughter currently is, and 100% I picked up their vibes. And I'm sure I portrayed them. I'm sure that hurt them too when I would come back from one with certain vibes towards them and then leave that one coming back. Like it was extremely toxic. And I for sure started to guard what I could say, what I couldn't say around them. And that's something I shouldn't have had to deal with. And I'm for sure don't think other kids, should have to deal with that because their parents aren't mature enough to know how to talk around their kids.
Yes, and it's actually like, at least in the state of Washington here, like it's literally in the parenting plan and in like divorce papers that you cannot do that. Like it's literally spelled out in those. And I think it's just glanced over. And I think it's really funny when I do hear it. And it's like, hey, you're like breaking your parenting plan right now. Like if someone like reported you or recorded you and had the first hand information and gave it to your significant other, they could file a contempt of court against you,
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's
Which you would think would
it's like,
be duh anyway, but people literally need that piece of paper telling them that these days.
yeah. And even then it's not followed and it's just it's sad because it affects the kids more than anything. You probably at
Yeah,
some points while you were growing up had a skewed image of one of the parents or another.
100%.
Maybe it
Both
was
ways,
coming
for
from
sure.
the actual biological parent, maybe it was coming from a new significant other that was
Yeah.
also skewing the picture and whatnot, which I think is also another topic.
Yep.
It's like make sure you're really careful about when you get remarried and or move on. And I'm not saying you shouldn't move on, you absolutely should, because there's gonna be someone better out there for you. You're gonna have to sort through the weeds, but don't
Well,
let that consume you.
and the parent towards the significant other, the new significant other, in the other, you know what I mean? Like the divorcee's new partner, it was
Hmm.
extremely toxic. There was so much vile spit, and I definitely picked it up. And even if that person was amazing, it's not like I really had a choice to let that be accepted. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah,
their bad. You can't like them without saying that. That's what, as a kid, you would pick up for
yeah.
sure.
And I think a lot of parents, especially that are divorced or going through a divorce or are now co-parenting stuff, think that their kids aren't gonna pick up on these things. They think that their kids, just in general, we think kids like aren't gonna pick up on these things. They're not gonna understand them. They're not gonna, understand kind of what you're putting. They're not gonna pick up what you're putting down. Oh, they're picking it up. They're picking it up
Definitely.
and they're translating it in their own little age appropriate ways that they can understand that make sense to them. That could be into fear, that could be into sadness, that could be into anger, that could be into throwing a big temper tantrum when it's time to go from one place to another because now they feel unsafe with the other person. Um, it can look like, you know, lots of dark colors being used when they draw pictures, like draw a picture for your mom and they're using a lot of dark colors instead of bright happy colors. They're using dark sad colors. Like you mentioned their dad and they just shut down and they get really quiet, or you mention their mom and they get like nervous or antsy and they start pacing or breathing fast or looking around the room, their eyes are shooting everywhere and they're like nervous or looking over the shoulder, they're
For
anxious.
sure.
Like it looks so many different ways and like they pick up on it and they just don't know how to process it. And then they're scared to say something because they hear you saying these things and then they have no one to talk to. And then they try talking to that other parent and they're just confused and sad and angry. And the other parent, then it causes a fight. And then the kid doesn't want to cause a fight. So then they keep it in and then they internalize
Yep.
it. And then they blame themselves for the divorce. I mean, it's the cycle.
Yep. Definitely.
So,
I think we've seen it enough that we should know better. You know what I mean? Like our
mhm.
generation's seen it. Our friends have had divorced parents. So what is it? 50% of people get divorced. Like we've all seen it. We know what it
Yeah,
looks like.
now it
We are
is.
mature enough to move past that, but it still doesn't happen. And it sucks.
And you think back to like when we were kids and stuff, though. Like, I looked at the statistics a couple weeks ago, and back to like when I was in high school, probably back when you were in high school, it was probably about a 1 in 5, 1 in 4 that were getting divorced. And it was a different world because, like, everyone not everyone, but majority were coming from two-parent households that when you graduated high school and all the kids were out of the house, then it would be like, "Oh, your parents are divorcing. Okay, like, okay." Like, that makes sense, like, you guys are all out of the house, like, they made it, they got you guys through school, and now they're moving on with their lives kinda thing. Or something similar to that, or they would stay together or whatnot, and, the divorce rates were much lower back 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago even. Like, to now, it's just like, you made me a little upset about this really minor thing that we could have communicated and worked through, like, I'm done. I want a divorce, or I want out, or I'm done with this relationship kinda thing. Like, for you and your wife being together for 18 years now, like, how do you guys get through those things when an argument or disagreement comes up or something big happens and there's a big fight or blow up or something like that? How do you guys work through it? Like,
Um, it's not perfect, and it never has or will be.
mm-mm,
It's hard to say I'm wrong. Like that's for sure one of the biggest hurdles still to this day I face. It's hard when you're in the moment, you feel from your perspective something is 100% like no, like I didn't mess up. I'm for sure in the right. And then they come at you and explain it from theirs, you're like, I fucked up. And then backtracking past all the stuff you already said, it's hard to be like, hey, my bad. I didn't see it from that, you know? But if you want to make up, you need to be big enough to say, I messed up. That's a hard thing to do. It's not easy. And I feel like a lot of people would rather scapegoat the blame somewhere else or start a different argument, etc., instead of just finishing up and taking care of what needs to be taken care of. Um, we've we've definitely evolved how we talk, communicate throughout our relationship, but being that we grew together, we grew our communication together as well. I used to be super slobby in high school compared to her, and she used to be way, way clean, like toothpick up in the cracks. You know what I mean? So like that's two big different households to come from, and that's going to cause
mhm,
lots of little tiffs as you're going into college and you're having fun, and it'll cause an argument. And then you got to learn from that. Like, oh man, I am making this like a hard life for someone that has that kind of tendencies. And then same with her when she doesn't see me with a toothpick, she had to evolve to be like, okay, that's not in him. That's not how he's raised. And then together we've grown to, okay, you're going to be the toothpick person. I'll pick up the couch while you toothpick under it because I'm not a toothpicker. And so you just kind of evolve to know work your strength. So
100%. And
to
I
answer your question, it's not easy getting through tiffs. You just got, but if you can't say I'm wrong, you never will.
100%. And I think that's a key right there. You have to own up to what you did wrong or that the other person felt like you did wrong.
That's the part
Because
that's been hardest for me is the felt. Like I didn't see it myself, but now that you're telling me it, my bad. Like I
I
didn't
can
see it
see how
that
that
way.
hurt
I didn't know you
you.
were feeling that. I'm sorry. I did not mean it in that way at all. Like that's the hard part. But what's worse, like letting your significant other feel hurt? Like that's, you know what I mean? You have to move past that
Yeah,
at some point.
100%. Like, that happened to me just a few days ago, like, my fiancé, I made a joke that I felt was like, in the moment, I was joking, like, I didn't mean it. Maybe my tone didn't come off as I was joking, or I didn't, like, reassure her, like, "Hey, I'm joking," like, I don't actually mean that kinda thing, and it made her really upset for, like, a day. She couldn't shake it, she couldn't let it go, and we didn't fight, we talked about it, but it's like, "Oh, I meant that as a joke, but I can see how that hurt you and upset you and hurt your feelings," kinda thing. So it was just one of those things, but I think you're 100% right. You have to be able to admit, like, you're wrong, and then also validate how the other person feels and say, I understand how I made you feel. Like, I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. Because, like, maybe you did hurt the other person, maybe it was unintentional, but sometimes you know a person so well that even an unintentional jab still hurts.
And
kind of thing. A
if the
playful jab
relationship's
still
gonna work,
hurts.
that's gonna go down in the back of your head. If I'm gonna attempt a joke like that, this is how it needs to be done and explained up front. Like, moving forward, if you do the same thing, you're the dick. Like, they already
Mhm.
explained to you, "Hey, not cool." And you're like, "Oh, fuck you, I'm gonna do what I want." Then it's like,
Yeah.
You're kind of a dick."
Yeah.
But now, if your relationship's evolving and growing, you know how to, or that's not at all possible, to say that joke. Like, that's growing. That's relationship growth right there. You don't step back and look, "Oh yeah, that's where our relationship grew," but that right there is a step to relationship growth for sure.
Yeah, you have to be able to step back and look. You have to be able to take a step back and then point your fingers at yourself. Like, you have to point the finger inward and be willing to point the finger inward and be like, "Oh, damn, I was being a dick. Like, damn it. I thought I was being funny. I wasn't funny. Being an ass and probably should have stopped. And now she's upset and I hurt her feelings and that's on me. And now I got to fix this, not fix it, but now I have to apologize and own up to my mistakes and, um, all that fun stuff." But
For
no,
sure.
100% right. Those are, I think you're right. Like, that's kind of is what it boils down to is something very simple as that. Like, I was wrong. I messed up. This is how I messed up. And being able to
It goes both
recognize,
ways though too.
100%.
If she refuses when she messes up to do the same thing, it's not going to work. So like, for sure it's a two-way street. Like, you can't always jump on the grenade every time. So it's not always your fault, you know what I mean? But when they mess up, you would expect the same from someone you love and care about.
100%. Like you said, it's a two-way street. Both people have to be willing to do the same thing. A lot of times, a lot of men will jump on the grenade 95% of the time, and only the woman will jump on the grenade about 5% of the time, which is completely wrong and false. And kind of how society's kind of framed it to be is that us men, we have to jump on the grenade 95% of the time. She only has to jump on it 5% of the time. But if we want something to work, like you said, both people have to be willing to jump on the grenade, even if they're jumping on it at the same time. Maybe it was something so not dumb, but something that could have been avoided. Maybe it was a silly argument. Maybe it didn't need to be argued over at all. Maybe it should have been a conversation. Maybe it was just a conversation that you're like, at the end of it, you're just laughing about and you're like, oh man, like, we're ridiculous. Like,
We're idiots.
that was
Yeah.
unnecessary that we're both idiots kind of thing. But
What a waste of our time. Let's move on.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, 100%. So I wanted to ask you about how gentle parenting is going for you, especially
Y-
with homeschooling your daughter. How is that dynamic with homeschooling? Your wife is a stay-at-home mom. You guys do a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
What's that kind of been like for you guys, um, just in general, between learning how to parent, learning how to gentle parent, homeschooling, her being a stay-at-home mom, you working, traveling? Like, how has that all like worked for you guys?
I'd say that like our relationship prior has prepped us for a pretty good chance succeeding with childcare. I'm learning every day. Every single day, I'll say something like, I could have said that differently. Um, she's a pretty damn good kid. I can't complain. Like, I see other kids, I'm like, I would not survive that. Like, I don't know how they're doing that. So like, I have it pretty easy, I feel like. But when I do get to that, okay, I'm getting wound up inside. That was like unacceptable how she just acted, etc. The wife kind of already on it. Like, she knows, hey, he's getting to his point. She's acting a fool. It's kind of maybe time to step in, let them both cool down a minute, and then we'll move forward. And same with them. Like, whenever the wife is like at her reaching her, okay, I'm done with this point, and the daughter's still like going and going, I'm like, all right, check it out. You're going over there, Lake, and let's check this out over here. Like, there's a lake, there's a river, let's get out of here. It's the step back and reset is the most important thing, I feel like. It's it's not as easy as anyone wants to put it. It's There's no kid that's perfect angel. But I mean, with practice, you learn how to take on different situations and just reevaluate how you acted, how your kid acted, and how to approach it. Like it gets easier the more you actually work on it instead of just reacting. Just okay, well this could go this way. Instead, let me step back, look at it from a 6-year-old's point of view who doesn't really have control of how they act. They're still base model learning everything. So it's not easy. I'm never going to say parenting's easy. That'd be a lie. But it's not terrible either.
No,
It's a huge
100%.
learning curve, and mainly I'm teaching myself about myself.
No, I love that because it is. I mean, I think that's the best part of parenting. Like that right there is, especially when you have a good relationship with your significant other, with your wife, you're able to find that balance. Be like, okay, she's getting to her point, he's getting to his point. Let me step in. Let me help. I already got it covered, or like, I got this right now. Like, you're good. Do your thing. Or, oh, I need some extra support. Don't worry, I got you. That's kind of where the whole, like relationships, people say they're 50-50, but no, they're like 100-100. And okay, you might only have 63% to give. She's like, okay, I got you. I can cover your 37. Like, I got you. Or vice
For sure.
versa. She's like, I got 40 today. You're like, all right, I got your 60 today. Or maybe it's both 30-30. Let's make a plan so we don't kill each other today. Um, kind of
For
thing. But
sure. Pivot, right? You
uh,
got to pivot based on the situation.
exactly. I think you're 100% right. Where it is a lot of um understanding, like you learn about yourself more than anything throughout the process. Like you
Definitely.
learn like, oh man, I don't listen, or maybe I get mad a little quickly, or I yell a little bit too much, or I'm not patient enough, or I'm not paying attention enough, or just all those little things. So yeah, it's important to make sure that you're able to, work on yourself. And you kind of have to question yourself along the way. Something I'm really big on when you're just trying to be the best parent you absolutely can be, or be the best significant other that you can be, or be the best individual you can be. Something I'm really big on is asking yourself why. Okay, why am I so mad right now? Because if you understand anger, you understand anger is a secondary emotion. There's an unmet need that now you're angry because that emotional need or that need is unmet. So why am I angry? Okay, why is this need unmet? Why is it bothering me so much to the point of anger? Why why am I yelling at my kid for this reason? And just or why am I mad at my significant other? Just why? Just asking yourself why and doing that self reflection. It's so important, to make that progress in being that better parent, to being that better, more involved, most perfect version you can be, and then keep trying your best because that's part of it. You have to work on yourself in the process, like you said.
Definitely.
So
Every night I feel like when I'm settling down for the night, calming down, laying in bed, can't go to sleep, whatever. I'll think of like if we had a situation that day where she started getting upset or I was getting into my brain, be like, how did you handle it compared to what you did last year? Like, did you improve at all, or are you just still being the same? I did pretty good. Could I have done better? Sure. And I'm always, how do I do better? Like, how do I make my daughter's life the best it can be? Like, how can I support her the best? Exploding, etc., is not the best for sure. So even when I am at my point, I never let it get to where she can see how upset I am because that's not going to help anything, and it's going to make her fear me and being open with me, which is the opposite what I ever want. Like I want her to be able to tell me anything, everything, and express herself how she wants without any fear of repercussion. So like I'm constantly interior working here. Like, okay, dude, just chill it out. Nice calm voice. If she's being cray cray, you need like a 3 minute timeout. Like, go chill. I'm gonna go pump my brakes. Let's figure this out. And like, I feel like I'm never good enough, and I'm always working on myself. And hopefully, I never achieve perfection because like no one's perfect. But I'm always working on myself to be the best for my daughter for sure.
100%. I think it's important, like in that process, like yes, you're never going to be perfect, but you're always working on yourself. And I think when you do reflect, like you said, like, was I better than last year? Yes, I was. Like, did a good job. Like, congratulate yourself on those wins.
For
Don't
sure.
just be like, oh, I was better, but like, I'm still not where I want to be. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're all the way there yet, like, obviously, you're not going to be there yet. But have you made 2 steps forward from where you were, like that's 2 steps to celebrate out of 10 that you're trying to make.
For sure.
Celebrate and stack those like little wins because that will continue to not only fuel you because you're feeling good, you know you're making progress and you're celebrating yourself. Everyone likes to be celebrated, but you're also giving yourself like dopamine hits. You're giving yourself like those happy feel good chemical hits in your own brain. And so you're reinforcing your own behavior through that process, just chemically and psychologically speaking, when you do things like that. So super important, ask yourself why when you are reflecting, like if you did do better and you did like better than where you were a year ago, 6 months, 3 months, last week, like celebrate that, congratulate yourself. Don't just let it go like, okay, yeah, I was better, but I'm not where I want to be. Like validate yourself. Like you have to validate yourself. You have to celebrate
For
it.
sure.
And if you are like married or engaged or whatever in a good stable relationship, like talk to your partner about it. Be like, "Hey, did you notice that I this time last year, like I was thinking about it. This time last year, like I probably would have blown up and gotten really mad. But did you notice today I like kept my cool and I was like solid and stuff and like I'm really proud of myself." And like, your partner or your significant other, whatever, will probably be like, "Heck yeah, you were. Like that's awesome. Like I'm really proud of you too. Like good job." Like maybe it's not gonna just come naturally. Sometimes you do have to kinda force it a little bit, but at the same time, like, that's what you mentally need to keep yourself moving forward. So don't be afraid to reach out and get a little, fish for those compliments and get a little extra validation when you need it. So for you, this is one thing you mentioned that you put down, something you want to talk about, and I love this, like, topic here. Dads being there for your kids. And it goes for you mentioned here that it goes for parents in general, but a lot of dads, and I can agree with this, rely on mom being the quote unquote default parent. And it should absolutely not be this way. A few weeks ago, I talked to her name's Amanda Gorman. She's a birth educator, and we were talking about uh, the fourth trimester, and we were talking about LEAP, and it's some stuff that dads can do to help their wives, help their, girlfriends or the mom giving birth. And I can't remember everything, but it was just four simple areas to help out with. Planning um was like the big one, like or preparation and like helping with bills, figuring out the like plans and driving places and appointments and just kind of taking care of some of the busy work. Like a lot of it was just the busy work to kind of take it off. Like, where are we going to go? Is the insurance figured out? Is these things figured out? Are these things figured out? Just like a lot of the things like here mentioned, like a mom would be the default person doing doctor's appointments, things like that. Like she's the one carrying the baby, but she's also trying to plan for all these things. And I agree with you. Like you have to refuse to let that happen within your own family because it should be so equal. Like dads should know when all the appointments are for their kids just as much as mom. Heck, they should be making those appointments. They should have them bookmarked. They should know when they're going to be. They should make an effort to try to be there for those appointments because I'm telling you, you probably know this. The doctor's face when you show up with your daughter to their doctor's appointment, even though it's yearly, shock and awe. And they're talking very gently to you. The doctor's almost talking down to you, like, is there anything that you want to bring up? Like, do you have any questions? Like, do you is everything okay? It's like my doctor's used to it because I've taken both my daughters pretty much to all their appointments, minus maybe 2 or 3 between the 2 of them at this point. Um, so yeah, it's
So side noting
something
on that,
that's
I'm not a rep for them, but we use this app called Time Tree. Super key. So I'm terrible at knowing what's going on tomorrow. It's just a calendar app that you can both access and both input stuff. So if I go to the dentist appointment, because our daughter usually chooses one, then the other, because since COVID, it's only one parent. So we let the daughter choose. Who do you want to go in today? And so if I go in, I'll put the new appointment on Time Tree for next September or whenever it is, and it instantly dings her phone, hey, y'all have an appointment next September. And then you can both access this. So even, if you're divorced, you have a fiance as well, you can all share the same thing for the kids, so you know what's going on without having to communicate 24/7. It's super key. That's called Time Tree. Again, not an affiliate. It's just super helpful.
Not a sponsor, but yeah, give me your thoughts on that. Like, what are some of the things that you actively do to make sure that doesn't happen outside of keeping a schedule and being consistent across that? I think that's just great parenting and a very basic communication skill that two parents should have, like for their kids, is they should be on the same calendar and on the same apps to help kind of streamline those things because that's literally what the apps are there for. So,
And it should be input from both sides, not just the mom. Like, you should be there enough to help be putting half those appointments in there because you're there with the kid. But to answer your question, it started when she was 6 months old, like taking her out, if you will. Instead of going to the mommy and me toddler time classes, I would take the daughter out so mommy could get some sleep because daughter wasn't sleeping at night. And so I'd be the only dad in a circle of 20 females, and my daughter's out there, crawling around, exploring, getting to play and learn through play. And I'm the only dad in there, so I'm just looking around. Mom's over here now. She has to cover when she's breastfeeding because I'm the only guy in there. So the awkward level's for sure high, but I'm gonna take my daughter there so she can explore. Just because I'm not a wife or a female doesn't mean I'm not going to. So like, it started young. That's for sure against the gender norms to go to one of those classes with a 6 month old. Like, it felt awkward. It was awkward, but I don't regret it at all. Like, I was there for my daughter. Wife's finally catching on someone's sleep. Like, it's been those kind of things throughout. We usually attend everything together, so it's not like I'm heavier on one, she's heavier on the other, but I don't walk away from doing things that are considered not so manly, if you will. Like, whatever's good for my daughter is good.
I love that. I love that. No, and that's super. I mean, if whatever's going on for your kid, like you should be there, you know, and you
100%.
should make sure that you know you're involved. Like, yes, it's gonna be uncomfortable sometimes. Yes, it's gonna be a little weird, but there's no reason that you can't. Like outside of society and gender norms and stereotypes, those are the only reasons that you can't or that you shouldn't. Um, so, yeah. Sorry, my daughter gave me her little donut earring randomly, and it totally threw me off thoughts, but I guess it fell out. But anyways, we'll
All
fix
good.
that later. We have plenty of random
That's
backings
what kids
around.
do.
Yeah. Um, she likes to be in the room while I'm recording. It's just kind of her thing.
That's
Um,
awesome.
she she
That
just
might be
likes to
her
be
future and
here.
just like support that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And someday when she's a little bit more articulate on the microphone, we'll get there. But I think there's no reason that a dad can't or shouldn't. Like you should. Like don't be afraid, especially when it comes to like swim lessons, like when they're young, like you have to bond with your kid before they're 6. Cuz 6 years old is when kids develop their what's called their love tree. Their love tree is fully developed. Who they love, who they trust, who loves them, who supports them and whatnot. Because that's developed fully by about the age of 6 or 7. And yeah, you could be on there, but there's a chance you might not if you're not involved.
For
And
sure.
you don't want to be your kid to be 6 and have that love tree developed and you not be on there because that's gonna make the next 12 years rough.
Not just that, that should be soul crushing for anyone. But
Hmm.
if you're not there by then, it might not be for you. Like, you're you're a different breed, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's hard to think about like too because I work with pretty much all females outside of a handful of dudes. I work in mental and behavioral health, so very female dominant field, but a lot of them have gone through like divorce or single moms and things like that. And like my supervisor, especially, like she's always like talking to me about her frustration and stuff with her ex husband and stuff, and how he's just like not involved or he shows up late or stuff like that. And it just like I just don't I just don't get it for dudes. Like how? How can you not, like, be involved? Like, I get it. Some dudes very early realize this was a mistake. I'm not cut out for this. This isn't for me. No way, no way, no way. Like, sign my rights away. Like, I'm gonna bounce up out, get out. Like, for that, knowing that and realizing it that early and still giving, the kid a chance to still grow up and to, have a life and for the mom to raise that kid, like, there's something to that. But when it's like divorce or now it's co-parenting or something happens and now it's split parenting or whatever, like time's not being shown up for and you're being inconsistent, that's hurting your kid more than if you just weren't there. Because you not being there is a one-time event. It's a one-time thing. It's a one thing to get through. And I'm saying that as a kid whose biological mother was in and out and made so many empty promises and didn't come follow through with so many things that it caused a lot of damage and
Yeah,
hurt a lot. And like just knowing that, like I would have rather her just not been there at all. And I know that sounds really awful to say, but if you really think about
nope,
it, or if you understand it and you get it kind of thing. And
for
that's what
sure.
I don't get with some of these dads. It's like, dude, if you're not gonna step in and be a part, then just, bite the bullet, cause the one traumatic event that they can very easily overcome. Not easily, but they can overcome and they can get through and they can,
More easy than
get
just yo-yoing them back and forth. I'm in, I'm out. I'm in, I'm out for sure.
exactly, because that's gonna cause way more damage because like she was telling me about her kid, like just standing at the window, refused to go to the bathroom. Like my dad's coming, my dad's coming, my dad's coming, my dad's coming. Half hour, 45 minutes late to pick this kid up and
Yeah, it's
refused
definitely
and
a
like
hard on the emotions.
I was like it's hard for him at all ages, like if you're not gonna be consistent, then either figure it out and get consistent or just cause the trauma and balance. Obviously it's not gonna impact you either way, kind of thing. So that's
You
my
can do that
take.
from home too. I feel like it happens a lot when couples are still together. Like mom's still doing 110%, and dad's in the room with the door shut playing video games 8 hours a day. I don't get it. I absolutely
Mm-mm.
it does. I From the attraction like deep in my soul to my daughter's soul, I don't understand how you could neglect that, like that physical connection you guys have, that mental connection, that otherworldly connection. How you can just be letting your daughter be taken care of by someone else in the other room and blowing your day on the computer, on the PlayStation, on YouTube, whatever. Like it just, I don't get it.
Yeah, no, and it's part of that is if I try to explain it, it's still not okay. It's still not going to make sense. There's absolutely no justification for it. But it's the constant amount of like it's the dopamine hits. Part of it's an addiction. Part of it's not being invited to be involved, I guess, or feeling like they're allowed to be involved. Like,
For
oh,
sure.
or man, she's got it. Or maybe there's more context there that we don't understand. Maybe she's just, you know, forced him down so much or, put him down so much to where he feels so inadequate that it just makes more sense for him to go to work, pay the bills, put food on the table, come home, and shut himself off. Because that's all he feels he's worthy to do is to just come home or to go to work, come home, shut himself out kind of thing.
What I think I was
Um,
trying to get at more is you can still alienate your child even though you're still living in their same house. You can still cause
very easily.
equal damage by showing them that there's other things more important than them when you're with them. It's You can still cause a lot of damage by not being there, even though you're there. And a lot of people I feel like don't realize that.
No, 100%. Like when I am recording on the weak side of my kids, like I let them know, like, hey, you guys are going to have just an hour of playtime or quiet time or just screen time, whatever it's going to be while I'm doing this. Like, it's only an hour. Like, we did a bunch of fun stuff. We were talking about the show today. Like, we had a pretty full day. Like, we did plenty of stuff together leading up to this. And it's like they know very early in the day, like, hey, we're doing this, or like you still had a full day with your daughter coming up to doing this recording kind of thing. It's not
Mhm.
like we're leaving them high and
Yeah.
dry all day
No, no,
just while
no.
we're
I'm
getting to
I'm
this
not I'm
point
not
kind of thing.
saying
But
throw out all your hobbies and stuff out the door, but I'm saying
no,
I see people that do just live in a different room of the same house as their kids, and they don't interact, and
which is
it's mind blowing.
yeah, no, it is crazy because it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't make sense. Like if you're there, why not be involved? Because you're so lucky that you're there. Like there's a lot of dads out there that wish they could be there for even half the time that you're there with your kid just naturally being in that home and whatnot. That would
Yep.
kill each other, literally kill each other to be in your shoes and to take your spot and to, you know, be in your place. Like value it. Like value being a dad, value having the time you have with your kids and whatnot. Like you said, it doesn't mean you have to throw out your hobbies. You don't have to give up going to the gym if you love working out. You don't have to give up writing or painting or podcasting, or you don't have to give up your video games or whatnot. Like there's time
No,
for that.
definitely
Like
not.
there's
But you
time for
still
these
owe
things,
your
and
kids your time. You owe them some of your time.
yeah, you owe them as much as you can give them or allow them to have.
Yeah.
Like of course there's going to be work. Of course you need time for you. You need time to
Mhm.
do your hobbies. You need these things, but
For sure.
if nothing else, then like, you need to build that time in. You need to lessen it. Unless you're a Twitch
Yeah, you
streamer.
you definitely need some you time. I'm not saying don't, but your kids need some you time too.
Yeah, and your kids need as much you time as they can get from you. Because and I didn't learn, I knew this before, but when I talked to Alan Shedlin from the Dadding Field Festival, he mentioned it in our recording, and while we were talking, you can look back, that kicked off season 4, episode 44, 42, 40 something. Just search Dadding Film Festival. But um, he's like, he asked me, he's like, do you know how kids spell love? And I knew the answer, but I humored him. I'm like, Love. He's like, no, they spell it Time. Um, it's time. Kids, like I was saying about the love tree and whatnot, like, and it's not, I don't even know who quoted it or where it came from, but like, kids are going to remember who showed up. They're going to remember who was
Yep.
there for them. They're going to remember who gave up their time to be there for them, whether it was at a school play, at a school rehearsal, at graduation, at kindergarten graduation, at all these different life events. Like kids are gonna remember who showed up, when they showed up. Um, they don't care about why you showed up. They just care about you showing up. They don't care about anything else. Like they just want to see you there. They want to see you in the crowd. Ideally, get in the front row because that's the best seat in the house is in the front row. Unless you're on the stage or unless you're in the dugout with them as a coach or behind the scenes or something like that, being able to experience it along with them, but get in the front row. Be there, be supportive, be active. Like I remember I was at my daughter's kindergarten graduation, smack dab right there in the front row. Um, she didn't have to look very far from me. It was right there. I got there early, knew where she was going to be. When it comes to sports, like I'm right there, sitting right where she can see me, just very front and center, like all the time, because that's where you should be. You got to be in that front row. You got to be there for them and stuff. But um, yeah, just be there. Give them your time
Going
because
to like
that's
the
what they
park,
deserve.
the pool, the etc. these days, like you see a lot more dads, and it's more than it used to be proportionately for sure. You used to see all the moms at the pool and maybe a dad or two. I went recently. Sorry, the cat feeder's going off.
You're good.
Give it a sec. I went recently, and it was 80% dads. It was beautiful, and it just like it lifted me up to see our generation changing these norms. And I went to probably 10, 12 dudes like, hey, it's great that you're here with your kid. They're going to remember that. And like just lifting these dudes up, pumping them up, like in hopes that they'll continue to do that. This might be their one time that they've done it. Maybe it'll key them do it again. Like it's just good to see it, and it's good to hype each other up. Hey man, look at all these dads out here. We're killing it. Like we're not that stay at home with their kid while the kids go out. Like we're not that generation. We've changed it. Like keep it going. Like it's good to just promote that energy and,
Mhm.
you know, hope that they're feeling that too, and that that'll lead to more dad outings, etc. Or other people seeing it and, hey, you see all these guys out here? He does have a good point. There are a lot of dads out here. Like, it's good. It's a good time to be a dad. And
100%. And no, I was at the park today and, there was a lot of moms and dads together, but like I saw a lot more moms kind of back off into the background, standing in the shade. And I saw a lot more dads like on the playground, involved, running, playing, interacting, talking to their kids, playing with their kids, having fun with their kids and whatnot. And it was a lot of fun. Just to talk to some other dads that I didn't know, and just strike up a conversation and have these conversations and whatnot. And it was a lot of fun. But um, to wrap up here, I'm going to tell the people a little bit about your platform so they can find you, and then I'll ask you my famous last question. They can find you on Instagram at Daringly Dad. That's DARINGLYDAD. And on there, you share clips of your daughter and you enjoying new experiences, which I think is super fun because you guys do explore just all over the place, caves, hikes, water, everything in between. Like, you guys definitely took advantage of all the warm weather in every single moment you could. And I thought that was just so much fun.
for
Um,
sure.
you tie in parenting quotes that mean something to you, or they're just really good humor, uh, laughs and saps, as you
Exactly.
call
Yep.
it. I think it's so much fun because, like, some of your posts, like, I'll see and they'll be like, "Oh, yes, absolutely, my kid's a gremlin." What was the one there was, like, one the other day that you posted, and I was like, "Yeah, that's 100% my kid." Or my favorite way you know, compare my two-year-old is to the little boy off of Wild Thornberries, the one that's just, like, running around,
Right.
crawling, eating bugs, running around. I think his name's Darwin or something. Um,
Yeah.
but that's my two-year-old because she's just nuts. Um but it's funny, sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's a little sappy, and that's okay, we're girl dads. That's kinda just the name of the game, is the
Yep.
sappiness.
Part of the nature.
Uh, you keep it super lighthearted, it's super fun over there on your page. We all do have our own stuff going on in life, and we turn to social media to escape, and I think your page is a great example kind of that escape, because obviously it's you also, escaping at the same time, but also, like, remembering and having, like, creating memories for yourself while
Yep.
doing it. Like, man, I'm remembering all these things, like, you're cementing them more in your head and in your memory book.
And
Um,
my daughter's our number one fan. Every night she's like, "Can I go in there and watch my videos?" She loves like the sounds, the music. Like if there's one good music clip, you can guarantee you'll hear that for the next 30 minutes because she's watching herself drifting in a quad, listening to a cool song like every night. So like
oh, that
it's
drift in
cool
the
to see
quad one was
her.
pretty sick.
Yeah, no, she's skilled at it. Um, but it's good to see her remembering things because they have short term memory. So when they look back at this trip at Disneyland, a year ago, like, oh yeah, that was so fun. It's good to like, yeah, we do have fun, like it is a fun place to be. So it's also a good little time capsule. It's fun.
100%, 100%. My daughter loves to look through pictures on my phone, look back and whatnot. We just found this old iPhone from like 2 years ago or whatnot. It still works, still plays YouTube Kids and whatnot, but there's just a bunch of pictures of like our old dog on there and whatnot. And it is like it's a fun little time capsule for her to look through and see these things and
Definitely.
whatnot. And she has this little book that she has at her mom's that her and I made when she was little, maybe like one or two, and we wrote like little captions and pictures of her and stuff from her doing just like fun little pictures and stuff from that I had on my phone. We printed and made into a little book and stuff. And she loves looking through that and just remembering like all these things. Or my older one will ask questions like, did I do that when I was two, or when I was her age, or did I used to do stuff like that? I'm like, oh yeah, you were the exact same. A little bit more mellow, but you were still kind of crazy. She just laughs. She thinks it's funny, but um, for you, in all of your dating and everything, if you had one all-encompassing piece of advice to give to the dad that's struggling, that's down in the dumps, that's going through a rough patch in his relationship, or just in any aspect, just overall, just really down in the dumps, really at rock bottom, um, like what would you say to him? What would advice would you give him?
give what you can. Even if you have 1%, your kid will remember that 1% 100% of the day. If you're down, you're not feeling it, literally just any kind of communication, contact, if you're not with them, phone call, if they're old enough, text, let them know you're thinking about them, and that will exponentially come back to you. If you give them that 1% and you get 5% feeling of love back, like it's a win-win. There's nothing can be harmful about giving your best to your kid, even if it's the most minimal for someone else. If it's your all, give it to them. They owe you nothing. You owe them everything. That's that's how I feel about kids in general. You brought them into this world. They don't owe you a damn thing. You owe them everything that you have. So that's my piece of advice. Give them what you can.
I love that, man. I love that 100%. Like, it goes a long way, even just in general, in your relationship with your kids. Like, make that contact with them. If they're little, give them a hug. If they're, still little enough that they want to cuddle you or hang out with you or watch TV with you, like, say, hey, come over here, sit with me and watch a TV show with me. Like, do those little things. And it goes the exact same way with your partner or significant other, too. Like, if you're thinking of them during the day, let them know you're thinking about them. Hey, thinking about you. Love you. Can't wait to see you when I get home. Little
Definitely.
things like that go a long way. Or it's like, hey, I was at the gas station on my way home and, I thought about you, so I grabbed your favorite candy kind of thing. Like those little gestures go a long way. Even for your kids, like, hey, I was thinking about you when I was on my way home and, I grabbed you your favorite snack kind of thing. And or, I grabbed your
Yep.
favorite dinner or like these small little gestures, like do the little things, show
And
people that you're thinking of
watching
them.
them
And
light up too, like that's worth it right there. Just watch them light up. It's the best.
yeah, because you spent 50 cents on a lollipop for them. But, like, they don't know how much it was. Maybe they do if they're old enough, but it's like, all they see is a lollipop, and they know that you went slightly out of your way to grab them a lollipop,
Or if
and
you're
you got
sitting
it for
down
'em.
watching the 18,000th Bluey with them, that still means the world to them. Just sitting there with them. Watch this
Mhm.
with me, please. Gladly.
Yeah. No, 100%. So but, man, that's all the time we have. I appreciate you jumping on and the wisdom and being able to share the thoughts with you and some banter and whatnot, and, um, all the people, go follow you at, Daringly Dad over on Instagram, great page. If you follow us at Young Dad Podcast, you'll see Daringly Dad. He's on our story right now. At the time of this recording, you'll see him post on there. Enjoy him, interact with him, talk to him. He's a really cool dude, really down to earth. Uh, Happy to call him a friend and to be interacting with him and stuff. But man, again, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
I
So,
got you, man. It's good talking.
100%.
Have a
Well,
good one.
audience, back at you. Audience, you guys know what to do. Do they know what to do? Did someone
We'll
hit the
see.
button? Maybe, maybe not. But anyways, we're getting out of here. Talk to you guys later. See you next week.
Later, man.